is very important to us.
You're listening to Team Call with Beaksy, your direct line into daily conversations with the team behind one of Chicago's fastest growing Bitcoin startups. In each episode, you'll gain firsthand insight on topics ranging from entrepreneurship and operation strategy to technology and cryptocurrency market analysis. Whether you're looking to level up your trading acumen or you just want some alpha on how to run a startup in crypto land, you'll hear about it on Team Call. So who's already on? Beaksy's co-president, Bay Abbott, in addition to James Carney and Steve Sophocleos, who head up the marketing team, and Cooper Craighead, director of customer support. Let's join in.
But, kind of gets dry after a while. You're like, I don't want to just read baby stuff. What's up, Coop?
How's it going?
Not too bad. Things are looking up in the right direction. I think you guys had some productive conversation last night.
Yeah, we got pretty much everything moved over to Fireblocks. So that's good. Few stragglers, and then just because of the way sweeping and stuff worked, we have to go through and check all of the addresses and make sure that there's not like stranded ERC20s or ETH sitting somewhere.
Fireblocks has some interesting sweeping tools, don't they, that we didn't have before?
Yeah. So before we had an in-house solution, but Fireblocks has, I think they call it Gas Station, which I haven't really had a chance to dive into because we've been focused on just getting onto the platform. But I think there's a lot of customization options in terms of you can say, I want to spend this much dollar amount on a sweeping transaction, and we'll wait until price and gas fees adjust to that. Or you can say, like, if these assets come in, don't sweep them, we'll do it manually. Or you can say, if this comes in, sweep it immediately. Like, there's a lot of pretty granular fine tuning that you can do. So that'll be nice once we kind of get everything in there. Just got the message from the devs that ETH wallet address creation for new users, they've tested it in the UAT environment and it's working. So they're hoping to get everything configured and be able to push that to production either tomorrow or maybe Friday, but hopefully tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
so by tomorrow or Friday, it'll be live.
Yep. I mean, barring unforeseen circumstances. I'm not 100% sure why, but UAT and production are still different enough that sometimes they run into issues moving to production, that they don't necessarily see on UAT, but it's not too common. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful. And we did have some deposits for new addresses get automatically detected and credited later last night.
Hey.
So, yeah, I don't know where we stand on old addresses. I don't know if those are still having issues, like if they've only fixed it for new deposit addresses. But once they get everything up and running, like once address creation is working correctly and we can be sure that deposit detection is working correctly for ETH addresses, then we will be able to put out like a final notification to everyone that we will be migrating all deposit addresses over to the new system, and then we can just set a specific date to run a script and generate all new addresses.
Cool.
Yeah.
Light at the end of the tunnel here. So yeah, it looks like we've got some promising action on the widget front, and we're just going to send that stuff over and get them to sign some last few documents, and then we should be set, at least from the business end. As far as integrating some other PSPs, I just saw Simplex reached out today. Maybe is that conversation happened with Simplex, or?
I was actually going to bring it up on the call that I'm going to have with them next week. So originally we sort of shied away from Simplex because it's more expensive, obviously, than Ramp is. But we do want to have multiple options. Just there's unforeseen circumstances. Maybe Ramp gets hit by some crazy attack and has to go offline for a day or something. And we want to be able to have backup. And obviously, broader scale than that, there's a lot of providers that work significantly better, but only in small areas, things like that. So Nick said that he has a list of PSPs that he needs to clean up a little bit and get over to me. And then I'm going to check those versus what has already been integrated into the CRM and see if there's any that we should pursue more immediately, because some back-end work has already been done on them. But otherwise, we'll have a list of contact points and people to pursue so we can get more options integrated.
So maybe I missed that, but is Simplex one of these that already has some back end work done with some of the other entities?
The integration that needs to be done is on our CRM side of things, like to recognize.
Yeah, I'm tracking on that. I'm just curious if Simplex is one of these in the list of potential PSPs.
Yes, definitely. We had discussed it before, and then they basically had the same issue as Ramp with wanting to send all funds to a single address for multiple users. They were not keen on that either. So we sort of stopped on that conversation until we got that first issue resolved. And then once that issue resolved, we kind of segued directly into Fireblocks and this migration and generating new addresses and all of that stuff. So
okay,
I'll be picking that conversation back up with them next week. Same kind of conversation we had with Ramp, just sort of a broad outline of like, we are onboarding institutional clients. This is loosely what the structure is going to be. We still, technically are like custodying the funds or whatever you want to call it. Don't shut us off, please. I think it'll be interesting too, because I know if we do end up integrating them in that regard and we start putting a lot of volume through them, I don't know if Ramp has sort of a structure or tiers for fees. I feel like they're pretty one size fits all. Maybe there's better deals or whatever, but I don't think we've discussed it with them at all. Ramp very much does have that. Like the more volume you put through them, the lower the fees can get.
Wait, you said who has that?
Sorry, Simplex.
Yeah,
Simplex
okay. I see. That's cool. That's good to know.
Like down to the point that I think like with Binance, who have been partnered with them forever, I think Binance's Simplex fees for customers are like pretty minimal. But the primary issue there is still that their spreads, I think, can be a little loose sometimes.
Well, regardless, good to have some more candidates being mixed in with the widget there.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as the listings go, I believe we said we were going to start a conversation with Block Demon. Have you been able to ping them?
Yep, pinged them, got a hold of Stefan, and he said that they will get a contract drafted up and send it over to Naeem. Okay. So he sent me that message yesterday, like early afternoon. So I may follow up with him today, just check and make sure that happened. If I don't hear from Naeem that he got something.
Cool. Yeah. Some of the ones we're looking at listing are pretty exciting right now. Like a lot of energy in some of the assets that we're looking at.
Definitely. And I'm also excited because Fireblocks has a lot of untapped potential in that regard, with a lot of assets that we wanted to list that were either problematic or cost prohibitive or whatever before, and we can now do it pretty easily. I don't know if we will ever go so far as to incorporate Binance Smart Chain, but we could, which is kind of cool. But yeah, Fireblocks has a pretty extensive list of other stuff that we can add.
I know Solana's recently on there. I got an email about that.
Yep, that's definitely one we will have our eyes on, partially because we started work on that and then found out the issues that Block Demon was having with supplying nodes for it. So there's some groundwork already laid there, and that would definitely be one that, we're obviously a little bit behind on that, considering its meteoric rise last year. But
yeah, I was going to say time in the sun might be eclipsed by some new assets. I don't know what Steve thinks about that, but a lot of what you read from a lot of these.
Absolutely. Folks. I have to dive into that too later. But I mean, like I was famously on this podcast waiting for the long-term capital gains tax to hit for me, which is like 5 days from now, but we will definitely be rotating hard into other juice boxes with a little more juice in them.
Yeah. What are some of the other juice boxes, as you say? Because didn't you did a little
Yeah, I've been looking a
report.
lot into this, and I've started to move into some of them, but this is obviously not financial advice, and I'm certainly not a financial advisor. I was looking at Secret Network, I think it's SCRT, Octopus Network, Near, and Cosmos were like kind of the top ones, and definitely Jewel. I don't know if anyone's looked at DeFi Kingdoms, the play to earn game, but I've become a little obsessed with that game. And that token is Jewel for that one, but that one's been mooning so hard.
Have you played it?
I started playing it last week. Yeah. So they have these hero NFTs, and that's the character you play with. And then you just kind of build that up. But you go on quests, and like what you get in the quests, you can sell in their market. And it's a very fun and addicting experience.
All right. I got to check that out. Yeah. I was talking to Bay earlier and he said, listen, when I started talking about Jewel, it was at 8. Now it's at like 22.
Yeah, I think I got it. Like I was in that account that I posted in our marketing chat, Black Noise. He was talking about the game, and the token from the time was like $3, and I waited to like 11 to really start going in, but wasn't too late on that one.
It seems like play to earn is definitely still having its moment, and I think it'll continue within the first half of this year. But that moment was super strong in December, and now it's being eclipsed by some more like layer 1 ETH killer competitors. It seems like the most.
That's got a lot of attention.
Yeah,
I saw on Twitter a post that just had that sector outlined in their performance over the last, I think it was a week and then 30 days. And like over the last week, like all the play to earn tokens just got hammered south. And then Jewel was up like 100%.
Wow.
So it's stealing some attention. And I'm like in the Discord. The Discord's just getting crazier and crazier every day, which is usually a good sign. I was just going to say, like, it's based on the Harmony blockchain, and the token for that is another one that I'm definitely looking at. But like you could see it getting noticeably slower and more congested as people are coming onto this game.
I think it's CoinDesk who does like for each asset, or at least the big ones, they do like a Twitter sentiment analysis of how many tweets and what was the sentiment on it. And it's part of like their whole metrics package for each asset. But it seems like maybe a Discord analysis would be an appropriate tool in this day and age. like how active the community is. It seems like Discord has become more and more like the place.
I remember in like the Solana NFT run, that was just like the only metric worth paying attention to.
Good guy.
But it comes and goes. Like it could get super active and crazy, and that can die off in the snap of a finger if something happens or there's a big dump. But I mean, at a certain point, when you see a lot of activity and a lot of people in there, it's hard to be bearish, in the immediate term.
It's like mining towns, in like the 1900s, like railroad towns, super bustling. And then a year from now, ghost town.
Absolute ghost town. Yep. That's what all the Solana NFT Discords are now. There's literally one person that'll post every month. I mean, it's save for a couple of them that are still active. But
you mentioned Cosmos is one of the ones to pay attention to, Adam. I think it's super interesting because some of the other big tokens in the running right now are based on like the Cosmos SDK. Like Luna, for example, is based on Cosmos, and it's having a huge moment right now. And like, I don't know how many other projects you're seeing that project and its tokens crush it. I mean, ETH has been doing that for a long time, obviously, but like how many other ones can you think of that have its children in the mix as well as the main project?
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much hits all of them. Because I mean, right now, like that specifically, like I like where they're going, the whole Cosmos ecosystem. Now, those two, like Terra, and I think Terra Luna is the same thing, and Cosmos, like for my allocations, I wasn't going too heavy into there just because the room for them to grow is a little lower than some of these smaller plays. But I mean, also there is Solana. It's not like the Solana ecosystem is just kind of dead. Like there's also going to be good plays on there. I saw a great thread about, how was it for SSOV? I think it's like single staking option vaults or something like that. That could be completely wrong, but I wish I would have read more into it. But there's like a mechanism you can use. It's called DopeX. It was one of the bigger platforms for it on Solana, and you can basically make bi-directional bets with options, but like collect a premium on the side. So it's like way lower risk.
Oh, that's cool.
But I think the token for that one was DPX. And then, I mean, the other big one is definitely Polkadot. in Binance Smart Chain. What I really need to get caught up on is Avalanche. I've definitely slept on Avalanche forever in that ecosystem.
Yeah, who was it? One of your favorite Twitter influencers, Black Noise, I think, was talking about Avalanche.
He's a little more active on there. Yeah,
I don't know a ton about it either, but it's definitely in those top talked about coins right now. I think what's interesting is probably everybody says they want to achieve interoperability at some point, but it seems like Cosmos and Polkadot are both really championing that. And, it's like built into the core of their DNA, with Cosmos having like the inter-blockchain communication protocol integrated since February of last year, and then Polkadot having its whole parachain system set up for that. It'll be interesting to see which one of those models, because they're not really compatible as I understand it. You have to...
Those two specifically, I don't think so. But I mean, the use cases for it are endless. And like having gotten into a lot of these tokens that I've been moving into, like it's a gigantic pain in the ass to get a lot of them. Like getting a Near wallet set up, a Kepler wallet set up, going to KuCoin, withdrawing from there, having to go bridge, to get Secret, you have to bridge to Secret ETH, and then you need Secret to turn that into Secret. It's just like when you have all of those connections, you could just so seamlessly just move everything to where you want it to go.
It'd be interesting if you could get I think Cosmos talks about being like the internet of blockchains, but if you could get an actual like internet protocol that everybody plays by that's incorporated into every blockchain project, because that doesn't exist right now. But if you get an internet-like protocol, an HTTP-like protocol. Anyway, yeah, it's a super interesting time. Some of the stuff I was reading on like CoinDesk was a little less than ecstatic about the first half of 2022, because 2021 was such an explosive year of growth that it's kind of like after explosive growth, don't expect to just double and triple down on that. You might have to have some periods of a little bit of a recession, but they also mentioned that during a little bit of recession is where the most interesting things get built typically, because it's when the developers are really focused on creating like hardcore value. So either way,
I mean, we're smack dab in the middle of that right now. Like I'm looking at the Bitcoin chart right now, which topped on November 10th and has mostly just been a downtrend ever since. But that being said, like for me now is the time where I want to look at the ecosystems that are going to be bigger this year, and then look at the smaller tokens within those ecosystems that have a big role that they can play if everything takes off.
What's crazy is that ETH wouldn't be such a target for disruption itself if it could just get its fees under control, which, I mean,
it's kind of, it's like a sort of a mind-numbing situation. But if ETH transactions were instant and the cost of like a Solana transaction, it would kind of be game over for a lot of them. But I mean, there's aspects of other plays that, they're not fully incorporated with. Now I think about something like Cosmos connecting everything. Like if on Ethereum, I guess lower fees would solve all that. Cause if you're bridging from one chain to the other and it doesn't cost you $90 to do it, if it costs you 9 cents or 9/10 of a cent, then it would be potentially game over for all the other solutions, just because its adoption is already so much further than everyone else's.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Is like it's so far ahead, and it's several laps ahead in the race here, but its market segment is completely capped by you have to make a lot. You have to make a 6-figure salary to mess with ETH. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, routinely. Yeah, if you're going to do swaps and buy NFTs, like if you're going to pay 80 to 200 a pop, you definitely need a stack to play with.
There's like a new YouTube competitor that just raised a bunch of money called LivePeer that's based on ETH, and it's like the new video streaming service allegedly that's backed by some pretty big names. But I'm just wondering, what's that going to cost for the average user?
Yeah, that's where you look at something like, why would they not use something else too?
Yeah, but anyway, super interesting time, regardless of the chop that we're experiencing in the market right now. I think, still a lot of
Bitcoin's consolidating. We just need to break one way or the other from here.
We should have some bigger announcements coming out about our custody migration. So anybody that's interested, you'll be able to see that later this week or next week, potentially. As far as some of the materials for CFX, were we able to get any consensus on this video, Steve? Getting somebody to produce the video for CFX?
Consensus, no. So basically I explained to them that I would put the doc in our main chat so they could take a look and just kind of grasp where we might be at on a budget. So they said they would look at that and we'll go from there.
Okay. Hopefully we can get that knocked out here pretty soon.
Yeah, that'll be good to have. I think right before we go, he mentioned a couple times about Black Noise's Twitter. He has a Substack that he writes under for Ansem. And also for anyone that's unfamiliar with Kobe's Substack, highly recommend reading all of their articles and posts to really get a good game plan together for this year.
That's true, because a lot of these guys have branched into long form content, and not that their tweets
are
interesting, but when you actually,
the information should not be free. There's no reason that all of that should be free, but it is. So might as well take advantage of it.
Like I said, not that their tweets aren't interesting, but when you read their long form content, it's like, wow, like these guys really know their shit. And I think
Ansem's is super technical, and then Kobe's just like such an eloquent writer that I don't know if I expected that.
I did not expect Ansem to be that technical. I'll be totally honest. Like I was actually
very deep into the weeds. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if his Twitter persona seems to be more like laid back, chill, like throwing a lot of slang around. And then he's like writing like a scholar in his long form content. It's super funny to see.
Yeah, it's like there were concepts in there that I had to look at. Like even I learned a ton just reading that. I sent it to some of my friends that aren't like heavy into crypto, and they just, it was like every other sentence they're like, what does this mean?
It's super cool. I need to put more time into that. It's I think it's definitely worth it. And a lot of these guys, if you look at like Will Clemente or some of these other types, like they've just made an entire career out of just doing analytics all day long. Like not who knows how much they're actually trading, but just being active and like keeping their head in the game and being active in crypto analytics has made their entire persona and public brand.
And it's so helpful and efficient to follow people like that, because there's just way too much happening in this space to have someone willing to look deeply into everything and filter it out for you is a huge bonus.
Clemente was the one that was saying, I was reading him earlier, but he was saying like essentially this consolidation can't continue like for very much longer. There has to be a volatility squeeze and a break one way or the other, at least according to his reading of the Bollinger Bands.
Yeah, that was my take too. It's got to go one way or the other. It's just kind of flatlining here.
What's your take on which way it's going in your crystal ball?
I mean, again, I just borrow from everyone else's crystal ball, and they say it looks good for quarter one, so I feel good about it. But I did see one more thing. I did see Gary Kasparov, the chess grandmaster, legendary chess player, said that Bitcoin was going to replace the dollar, which I don't even know if I agree with that, but that's very bullish from somebody who's ridiculously smart.
I took your advice on Aleph and went for an infrastructure play. And I also, part of that was reading Ansem's long form piece, because he mentions several infrastructure plays in there. And as Bays talked about several times, the people who make them a lot of money in a gold rush are the people that sell like mining equipment to gold miners. So I think, the AWS infrastructure plays of the blockchain are going to be super interesting.
That one's definitely on the list for sure.
Yeah. And we have Aleph on BC for those of you that have listened this far into the podcast. So feel free to pick some up on the exchange.
Thanks for joining us on Team Call. We'd love to connect with you outside of the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Beaksy Exchange and at Bade Bitcoin. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Beaksy Exchange and at Beaksy, BEAXY.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, cheers.
Thank you